Okay, today I want to talk about a fantasy series I've been reading called Cradle. Cradle fantasy series. It's kind of like a Japanese manga, but in a fantasy series type setting. Like the magic system is really in depth, and it has like a really Eastern feel, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon type feel. But it's not that. And I think it has one of the best explanations for how, you know how people always say, know yourself? You must know yourself. You must know thyself, whatever. They say that all the time in all the truther circles, right? This has the best explanation for that I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing. And it actually worked when I tried it. I'm starting to think this might have been what happened in our past. I just got done on the 11th book. I just want to talk about it. So it starts out with this dude named Lyndon, and he's a unsouled. And basically, they do this test with each of the members of the tribe, and if they go in and they do some test with a bowl of water, and they have to. It's at the tip of at the top of the bowl, and they have to send out aurora or whatever, and then it does something to the water. It'll change the properties of the water. Maybe it'll go from tasting like water to tasting like wine. Sound familiar? Or it'll go from it'll go from clear water to red. The color will change. Or the water will overflow. Now check this out. Shit. Saint Benedict. Breaks cup. Yeah, see? Check this out. My man Saint Benedict. He gave it the cup of water so much aurora that it popped out. It exploded the cup. And then if you think about Jesus, he's famous for turning water to wine. Did he turn it to a red color? Did he turn it to did it make it taste like wine? So he was changing the properties of it. Right? So that's what they do. That's how they test these people. The main character, Lyndon, he doesn't have... He keeps trying, and he never can get the water to change ever. So he's considered a weakling in the tribe or whatever. Then one day this pulls out from this world, and it's from an archangel's point of view. That's what I'm just going to call her. And she shows up in this world to stop something. Someone was trying to come into the realm to change fate, and so she's an archangel, and you're not allowed to do that once you get to a certain level. So she comes in and shows up, and she sees Lyndon, and she ends up giving him a little tip, and she has to rewrite everyone's memory and stuff, but she leaves his memory, and he says you have two fates. You can either eventually advance and get married and have a great life, and die at age 60 when a giant Titan comes by and just destroys all your whole tribe, whatever. Or you can do something else. You can escape this area, get strong enough that you can stop the giant from destroying mountains with just how it walks. And he's like, all right, I'm going to try that. So then he goes through this whole advancement process of self-improvement, self-mastery. He's mastering himself. That's the entire purpose of the whole thing, the whole magic system. And he finds out the whole water thing. And I've heard people say that the Rosicrucians do this. They do a water test like that. They get a cup or a bowl, and they do some kind of water test. And I've also heard it in another show called Hunter x Hunter. But this one actually has once he gets to the outside world, he finds out that that's all nonsense. That's not actually how it works. It's all it goes into what I think the gods of old were, like Zeus and Thor and Susanoo. This has a character that's freaking Susanoo. Susanoo's a giant body armor. So he starts advancing with he makes some friends, and they start advancing, and he gets into all these shenanigans or whatever. And he slowly advances each book, basically. But here are the ranks. The foundation one is just it's it's the concept of like breathing a certain way. They call it cycling, and it's kind of like the chakra stuff. But I think the chakra stuff, here's what I'm realizing, that everything to do with chakras as it pertains like Buddhism is the wrong way to do things, I think. The same with the way Wim Hof does it. Wim Hof can do superhuman shit with his breathing technique, but I think he's doing it inefficiently. Qi, the people that can do that, the Qi stuff, like that one guy that burn paper, they were doing like Qi cultivation, and that's kind of what they're talking about in this cycling madra, whatever. But at a certain level, you get this something called a copper. It's called copper sight, and it becomes like where you can see aurora, and you can see it like really well, to the point that you can see like spirits. You can see the spirit world, basically. I don't mean like you can see the edges of people's physical outline, that type of aurora. I mean like you can literally see demons and spirits. And how much Jesus talks about demons and spirits all the time in the Bible. So there's a lot of alchemists. A lot of alchemists say that's how they figure shit out, from communicating with the spirit of the plant or whatever it is. What I want to talk about is this guy named Jonathan. I have one of his videos on my channel. But he talks about how he had his veil dropped.
For each of you, it will be individual, and the circumstances will be different. But when you make that decision, okay, I'm doing what you want me to do. I'll go through your rehabilitation, your therapy, your guidance, whatever. Then the Spirit will lift your veil. When your veil is lifted, you'll know it. There's no reason for me to describe it right now. But put it this way, people will suddenly be asking you, how do you see these subliminal messages? I can't see them. You're right. See, I couldn't see them for the first 33 years of my life either. A lot of them are etheric. And when your veil is lifted, not only will you be able to see that, you'll be able to change your perception. Most of you will be shown a demon. You'll go through a procedure, you'll see what it is when it happens, of the altering of your dimension, so you see its nature.
And that's what this copper sight sounds like. You have to get to a certain level of self-mastery. That's what this whole thing is about. It's about improving yourself, mastering yourself. That's how they advance to these different stages. The iron rank is the next one after the copper, and it's more of a physical thing. It's where you build your physical body, basically. And you're still doing the cycling or whatever, Qi cultivation. But I think that's the wrong way to do it, how they do it in Eastern like in China and stuff. I think it's simpler than that. And also, with this whole thing, think about the amount of time you spent on, like, if you ever played sports, how much time you spent on sports your entire, like, childhood. Like, I remember doing 4 sports at one time. And it was, like, all Saturday, all Sunday, and then practice every day of the week. When I was, like, 8. And, like, then I did like 3 sports in high school. High school sport is it's like 3 hours after every school day. And you're going to school, which is just brainwashing. It's mind control camp. So it's like, imagine if you spent all that time doing this type of shit, improving yourself, like actually mastering yourself. That's why I think this stuff actually would be possible. I think that's what happened in the old days with Zeus and whatnot. I'm getting to that, but yeah. So at iron, you get like your skin becomes like iron almost. Like a bullet wouldn't even penetrate your skin. I don't know about that, but like it would be hard to slice your skin. And there's all different aspects to it. Like you get really good at you might have get really good at healing, or become really strong. And that's another thing I think that we do inefficiently. Strength training. I've made a comment on the guy's Reddit, the author's Reddit page or whatever. Yeah, here we go. Traditional strength training teaches many sets and many reps in order to trigger something called hypertrophy, which is the increase in muscle size. So like you're basically tearing and ripping your muscles so that when you eat protein after your workout or do your post-workout protein or whatever, that it'll rebuild bigger, stronger. It'll add more to your muscle, and then your muscle will get bigger. And because your muscles are bigger, the side effect is you're stronger. I think that's inefficient way to do it, because I've heard Russian military has people that the way that they train strength is one very slow rep that slowly builds up in time. So like if you wanted to train your biceps or something, you would do one rep that lasts 1 minute, and then do that for a week, and then do one rep that lasts 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 4 minutes, then 5 minutes, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Apparently the Russian dudes can do a push-up. They can do one push-up that lasts 1 hour. That's what they build up to. Because it's like you're individually strengthening each individual muscle, and this becomes like permanent strength. That strength will never go away. It's kind of like a wrestler or a rock climber. Like a bodybuilder, they will lose their strength if they're not lifting and tearing muscles every day and then rebuilding them. But like a wrestler who does one really long rep, basically when they're doing their wrestling matches, when they had these they had that grip strength, where it's like if you do that every day, that's why wrestling would have been a good sport to do when I was little, because that is actually useful, and you actually build strength in wrestling. And wrestlers are the only sport where they regularly fast, so they got that going for them too. I mean, I'm sure it's not easy, but check this out. The guy, Ben Askren, the guy who lost to Jake Paul.
Get my money, Jake. Get my money.
Well, he's an Olympic wrestler, and he's super unathletic. But look he'll go against this dude, and he just manhandles this guy. This dude is roided out of his mind, and Ben Askren has a dad bod. He just picks him up and puts him down, picks him up, puts him down, he's a doll. And he doesn't lift. He doesn't do any of that. It's just because he wrestled every single day. It's one rep, one slow rep. It's same with a rock climber. You'll see rock climbers, they can hang from one finger for hours. That's insane strength, because it's they're building up. They're slowly building it up. You know what I mean? It's not like they're breaking and tearing and concussing their muscles. It's just a slow build. And that strength is permanent. When he's 80, he'll have similar strength that he isn't friggin' now. And the roided up dude won't. He just won't. Because his muscles will heal back to their normal size. But yeah, that's another thing that I think that we've been lied about, obviously. Is everything. We lie about everything. But then after iron, you get to jade. And that's where you get a spiritual awareness. You can just feel things. It's not really intuition, but it's precognition almost. And this book, Systema book by Giuseppe Filato, he talks about guys that could spiritually perceive people from miles away, sometimes 50 miles away, or halfway across the country. That's ridiculous. I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt, I guess. I know people don't believe this stuff, but then the next one is called gold, and it's it's a longer stage. It takes longer to actually advance from gold to the next one, and it has to do with making a contract with the spirit that you see with your copper sight or whatever, and then adapting that spirit to yourself. And I was just watching That City, actually. And he was talking about one of these little... Where are we at here? Yeah, he's going through like Chimera and stuff. That would be one of these gold ranks of advancement. Like they have these people, like you can only see it on the spiritual level, but they have like wings, or they have like a tail, or they have like a second arm, or like second arm, like a third and fourth arm. And that's what all these pictures are depicting, right? Oh my God, where the hell is this at? And you do this once you get to the gold advancement. You adapt with another entity. See, look, they're adapting with snakes or whatever. This dude's got a massive sword. Like, I'm starting to think all this shit was real. All right, here we go. Oh, but they rebelled against him and grieved his Holy Spirit. That's exactly what this is talking. When in this Cradle series, when you die, you have a and you're really like an improved. You've gone through all levels of self mastery, and your spirit after you die becomes it's called a remnant, and it can fight too. Like it can spiritually attack people and stuff. So they have to kill the spirit too, and that's what this is basically saying that. And his Holy Spirit, his Holy Spirit went against them too. So they killed the guy, and then his spirit came up, and then they had to kill that too. That's what that sounds like. Stay on track. And then the next one is where it gets crazy, because this is the best explanation I've ever heard in my life for this. Now the main character, I brought it up. The main character is trying to turn Underlord. This is where it gets into instead of like the jade and then gold, it starts getting into Lord ranks. Like Underlord, and then Overlord, then Archlord, and then it kind of splits off with that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But Underlord is where, Underlord, how you advance in Underlord, it's not so much as like collecting chi, it's about knowing yourself. And this is how they explain it. It's the most frustrating advancement. Some people go from true gold to Underlord in an afternoon. I had a cousin who spent 5 years chasing sillier and sillier truths about herself before finally figuring out that her revelation was that she practiced sacred arts for no reason. She just enjoyed doing it. Once she admitted that, her way was clear. It's hard because you can never figure out when you're on the right track and need to push deeper, and when you're totally wrong. The main character's like, yes. And then he said, until now, advancement's been clear. You just do your little Aurora chi cultivation. And you make yourself stronger. But with this, you have to actually know yourself. You're not just making yourself physically strong. You're not just making your mental and your spiritual strength stronger. You have to actually know yourself. And this explains this perfectly. Like, look, all right, I'll keep going. There are a lot of sayings about it, at least in my family. She imitated a deeper voice. To know the world, you must first know yourself. You must deepen your connection to your own soul if you wish to command the world. Underlord is the end of the path you walked for others and the beginning of your own path. She waved her hand. They make it sound like it fits, but they're all guessing. I did get one practical piece of advice from my tutors, though. She leaned forward, looking deep into his eyes. Follow your fear. It's a trick that sometimes helps you to figure out your revelation. A lot of people push themselves into deadly situations to figure out what they care about enough to die for. But you've done plenty of that. Obviously, that isn't for you. So follow your fear. And he's like, I'm afraid of a lot of things. Follow my fear. Trace it back to the beginning. What are you really afraid of underneath it all? Your motivation doesn't have to be rare, just personal. Eventually, he's like, so what was he afraid of now? What was his fear telling him about his family, about his friends? That he was still weak, that he was powerless, that he was worthless. I fight so I won't be worthless anymore. So it's basically, why do you improve yourself? Why are you improving yourself? And when he did that, he felt like he was starting to advance to the next level. You feel this. I freaking felt this. It's the prickly goosebumps. I did this exercise, and it's like not something that you choose. It's predefined. Yourself has a predefined reason for improving that you have to figure out. You don't choose it. That's the thing. It's fascinating because it actually freaking worked with me. I tried this follow my fear, and I got the prickly goosebumps, which is what they say. It's like you'll feel like your aurora spike, which is basically the prickly goosebumps. And I could talk about goosebumps forever, but anyway, so that's like the best explanation of know yourself I've ever heard.
With that, kind of like flooding in psychiatry. If somebody has a phobia or a problem, the spirit is likely to flood you right in the beginning, especially with this language, the whole thing. When your veil is lifted, you'll be flooded because you're going to have to face your phobias. And so your life will be coordinated until you realize that the only way that you can deal with your phobias is through the love of the Spirit. And you'll be taught that. Hearing me say it won't work. You have to go through it, and you'll see that. Each person has a different phobia, or many of them. And it knows what to do, and it won't overdo it.
And I copied down a bunch of it because I know they actually explain it even better. I'll show you. So then after Underlord, you go to Overlord. Okay, here we go. The Underlord revelation was about what motivated you to begin to improve yourself. And the Overlord revelation is who you are now. So I'm this. I'm blank. And whatever makes your aurora spike, like makes you get the prickly goosebumps, that's why. Like you didn't choose it. It was predefined. It's fascinating. Then Archlord is what you want to be. What your goal in becoming, improving yourself is. What's the next thing? What do you want, basically? And then once you get there, you get Archlord. Where am I going? So yeah, here I'll just read it from here. To advance the unknown, you must have its personal revelation and act as a catalyst for advancement. Yeah, okay. So who am I today as improving myself? And then Archlord, where am I going? Or what do I want? And then Sage. You hear about sages back in the day? Well, a sage manifests, they affect the world through their authority. Like, you know how people in the truth community are always talking about being authors of your own script? Your authority. It's all in law. It's in law everywhere. The authority. So you're capable of affecting authority if you become a sage and you have an icon. So like if you're a really good swordsman, you might have a sword icon. And because the main character he'd never got to like pick anything with the water test, which didn't matter, but he was like empty. His icon is the void, like a void. Resonate with the icon. Like it has to be think of the icon, they think of you. That's how like in tune you have to be with it. Then there's Herald, which is like it's when the spirit that you took when you were gold, and your own spirit, like when the wills you merge as one. They didn't really go a lot into it because it's like a more physical thing. They say heightened spirit now, and like you get crazy physical feats. And then the last one is when you can be a sage and a herald. You can manifest an icon and you can merge with your body and spirit as one. And then you ascend to the heavens after that. You can't stay on earth. And this is the whole thing. Like this is a big spoiler for this whole series. In this series, there's these 4 titans. They're called the Dread Gods. One of them's a phoenix, a blood phoenix. It's like a parasite. Another one is a giant titan, like what you would think of a titan. Age of the Titan, Clash of the Titans, like that kind of titan. And the other two are the Silent King, who wears a cross. He has a halo above him. And who had halos? The last one was, and his power is that he can control massive amounts of people at once. So he can just take over the whole world and mind control everyone. And the last one is that's a flying dragon, like a Chinese looking dragon that shoots lightning and shit. But anyway, the only way these things are so powerful that the only way to stop them is with monarchs, which is the final stage of advancement, which is a god, basically. These people can do, when you get the monarch, you do godlike shit. Like you can teleport, you can like manifest a giant armor, which is Susanoo from Japanese myth. And like the one character's name is North Strider. He's a monarch. He reminds me of Thor. or like Zeus. But the whole trick of it is the reason why the god, like the dread gods, show up is only because of the monarchs not ascending to heaven. Because they refuse to go to heaven. It's breaking the world of their place. So then corruption builds, and the corruption is hunger, like it's called hunger aurora, hunger magia, and the things that feed that more than anything are these dread gods. And you always hear people talking about the Phoenix apocalypse, and then the Titans. So this is how the gods beat the Titans, and then eventually someone beat the gods so that they would ascend to heaven. They go to Mount Olympus, and then with all the Titans and Nephilim, all that stuff, that all went away because there was no reason for it to be there anymore. It only shows up when there's gods that won't ascend to the next stage. And the reason why they weren't ascending to the next stage is because they didn't want to be slaves or something like that. But the name of the next stage is the Abaddon. And if you look up the name for Abaddon, I think I looked this up. Oh, here we go. It's a biblical character. He was a judge, and that's the name of these. There's 7 judges, 8 judges, but that's another sport. There's 8 judges, and their names are like archangel names. Like the first judge is Michael, basically. The 6th judge, her name is the one. She's the one who helped the main character in the beginning. And the way she did it is she gave him a little tiny glass ball with her symbol in the middle, like glass bead game. And her name is Sorio, like this, which kind of sounds like an anagram for Lucy. Well, I don't know. Maybe Lucifer, maybe Lucy, which I think wasn't Lucifer the sixth archangel? I don't know, but yeah, that like, and you hear about people say how archangels don't have free will or something like that. People say that like they don't really have free will, so it's like they're kind of slaves. I think that's what the point of these, like, that's why these gods won't go to heaven. They won't ascend. And once you're on the like archangel level, you realize that there's more than one world. There's millions of worlds, and they're all connected to something called the way. And if you think about the hunger only starts when these gods won't ascend, because it has to counter them, because it's not stable for the world. And you think about breatharians, dudes that can live for years without eating. The whole concept of hunger might not even need to exist. It's really not it's not natural. And maybe that's what time was before the gods. And then I think it's possible that we have gods today that we just don't know about. And that's what all this corruption is. That's why we have all this corruption. It's because there's gods that won't ascend. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It was a cool fantasy series. It has some of the best fight scenes I've read ever in any fantasy series ever. It's like edge of your seat, and there's a bunch of them. You won't be disappointed if you read them. Oh yeah, the author's name is he has a really odd name, Will White. Interesting, right? All right, well, that's the end of my video. Hope you enjoyed it.